Hey, you guys, we are back with another amazing young lady, Miss Samantha. She's a nutritionist coach and she has her own podcast and she has a was it raw food health empowerment show. So thank you so much, Samantha, for coming on our channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I like to start out asking, how was your eating habits when you were growing up as a child?
I had all the fun things, pizza pockets, taquitos. My mom used to love to make uh, this thing, pork chops.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had, there was like a way of eating before my grandma got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and then after. After she got diagnosed, like our whole family went on a dietary change
Mm-hmm.
based on her diagnosis. So things like turkey bacon and turkey sausage came into the mix. My mom, every time she made meat, she would like cut the fat off of it and show me. She would, she would cook it down, put it in the freezer so she could throw it out. But she would always show me how much fat she's taken off the meat, and it was really disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for the most part, like we shopped at Costco a lot. I had an older brother who's 11 years older than me, I don't know, 6'4" or something. He's a pretty big guy, so he has a huge appetite.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so we always had, Costco stuff stacked. We had
Mm-hmm.
two kitchens, so it was a really fun eating time. Lots of eating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I can identify with that. Wow. You mentioned, well, we'll talk about that. So why did you become raw vegan plant-based? I just put the two together because
All of
of,
it.
yes.
Yeah. So I mentioned, so my grandma got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And I was basically like a nurse for her. She had to eat at certain times, to take her medication at certain times. And everything was pretty much going well. She had to check her blood sugar every morning.
Mhm.
But then that escalated into these long insulin shots she had to do in her stomach. And then her big toe turned black. And within 2 weeks from that, she was, home on hospice care and then dead. Right. It was
Mhm.
really fast and very traumatic. And at that moment when, I was watching my grandma suffer, and I watched her the entire time, like over what, 15 years or so, like dealing with type 2 diabetes and just being a human pincushion. You know what I'm saying? All the pokes and prods, all the 911 calls, the hospital stays, like all of the things. It was quite an experience and very dramatic at times.
Mhm.
And I just watched how, the things that she went through in the medical system, and that stuff. Honestly, like I say, every time I talk about it, I get emotional because it was traumatic, and it affects me even today. Like when, I help folks with brain health, and one of the things that we talk about is taming your dragons. The death dragon has been a dragon of mine since I was a young child, like way before my grandma passed, right?
Mhm.
um but like, so death is hard, but then also watching folks suffer, particular with needles. Like I can't do needles, I can't even do pills. I watched my grandma swallow like 17, 20 pills a day she had to take, right? And all
Wow.
of that only ended up into her being on hospice care and being in even more pain before she, passed away. So it was a very long, drawn out, painful process. And, it was very clear to me that food is not worth it. We knew food was the cause, even at that time, of type 2 diabetes. And
Mhm.
I'm like, this is what food could do. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't really have the knowledge beyond what we learned from, what was being told to my mom on
Mhm.
how to feed her as a type 2 diabetic, right?
Mhm.
So fast forward 4 years later, so my grandma passed away, was freshman year of college. my senior year of college, I get married and I moved to the Bay Area after graduation. My husband tells me he's going vegan, and he shows me this video. We end up watching like a whole bunch of videos that day because it was a very special day. I was making him a meal for the
Mhm.
first time, like ever, and it was a chicken meal that I really enjoyed that my mom used to make, honey glazed chicken. And he was telling me he's not going to eat it, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, talking about he's going vegan. I'm like, go vegan tomorrow. I just spent hours on this dish, you know.
Yes.
Um, but we watched these videos, and one in particular, this guy was talking about how, you know, humans are getting cancer because we're not eating the food we're supposed to be eating. You know, we're eating like carnivores and we're not carnivores. Carnivores have a short intestines. You know, the food goes in and it comes out. We have long windy intestines. The food goes in, it's getting stuck in the crevices, it calcifies, and it's manifesting into cancer for us. And he goes into other things. And a really great resource for folks too is Dr. Doug Graham's book 80-10-10. He has a section right in the beginning where he goes through all of the things, not just the colon, but the teeth, our eyes, everything, right? There's so much about our physiology, if you just look at nature, that we are not, for the most part, eating our species specific diet. So, anyway,
Mhm.
what this guy said, it made sense, you know?
Mhm.
So, it just kind of opened up Pandora's box for me. I started reading, and I found Dr. Neil Barnard's program for reversing type 2 diabetes, and that book changed my life because I was on like a whole emotional roller coaster with that book. I was really angry um, and disappointed, you know,
Yeah.
um, because it's like if we had known that information
Mhm.
before, you know, things could have
Mhm.
been so different.
Yeah.
um and even now, like, we know people could live to 120. You know, my grandma, she passed away in her 80s, so we lost a good, as far as I'm concerned, we lost a good 40 years more we could have had with her. And her death, you know, it was horrible to watch, but it affected the entire family.
Mhm.
So there's just like a whole domino effect. But yeah, like that's pretty much how I got into it. Dr. Neil Barnard's book, reading that, I could no longer eat the way I was eating before because I did not want to suffer the way my grandma did, even before she passed. Being a human pincushion, that is not my idea of a quality of life. Plus the fact that, you know, she wasn't that mobile. My grandma, like before, in the beginning of her diagnosis, like early on, like I remember her going up and downstairs. I'm from New York City. We have a basement and the main level and an upstairs, so you're walking up and downstairs a lot, right? And she could
Mhm.
do those. She was what I would call, she had like a normal, you know, size body, what I would call an auntie body. Like, you normally age, you know, as women, they hit menopause, and some of the fat, you know, stays on, but it's like, it's what we're used to. It's like a normal auntie size body. But with the
Mhm.
medication that she was taking, with the type 2 diabetes, her thyroid was malfunctioning. She had all these co-conditions, hypertension, all this stuff.
Mhm.
um the meds had her swelling up, so she like had a huge belly. She was so heavy. I remember one time we called 911. 5 firefighters had to be holding the stretcher to bring her downstairs. That was before we put in a chair that would be, you know, on the track that goes up and down the stairs. um
Mhm.
but it was just a whole lot, like how that whole, the disease, the medication, and even her interaction with the medical system, how it affected her body, you know. I didn't want
Mhm.
that for my life, so I changed, you know, because of that book.
Mhm. Wow. Sorry to hear about your grandmother. I can identify with a lot of things that you said because I watched my mom, go through cancer, and it's not nice, So, yes,
Yeah.
wow, wow, wow. So, in the beginning, when you changed your eating, like what was some of the things that you was eating?
Sorry.
I know I was trying to change it. Yes, it's okay. It's okay.
Um, I'm sorry. Repeat the question.
Um, okay. What was some of the things that you ate in the beginning? I apologize. I think I picked all this up before we started. Um,
No, it's okay. Sometimes I can't say most. Sometimes I'm good, and sometimes
I'm yes, it's okay.
calm down. It's okay.
It's okay. It's
But we
okay.
good.
Yeah, yeah,
You have my support.
yes,
You
yes.
know, it's funny because some people don't understand what it's like
Mm-hmm.
when you lose somebody,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, because I remember even before I decided to start coaching, I owned a raw vegan business. And we did talks, you know, we talked about food and stuff. I never talked about like my past or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And but I knew going into coaching that I would probably be talking about my grandma because you know this is the reason why, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I did therapy, and that was 11 years after she passed. Now it's been like 18. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember even at that time, my mom was still emotional about the loss.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, my dad would say, like, what, how are you still crying over this? You know, at that time, he hadn't lost his parents yet, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I
Yeah.
think, and it's not something I would ever wish on anybody because I've heard from other friends my age who still have their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's a kind of pain that just hurts, and I don't think the hurt ever really goes away. Sometimes it dulls,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it just hits you like a wave, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. I really sympathize. I feel everything that you're talking about. Tomorrow will be my last pregnancy, my last baby. She was born October 12th. So I sympathize. It's a lot of things going on. So I understand. So yeah. Yes, I understand. And it's
Yeah.
okay. A lot of times, the pain that we experience is what motivates us to do better and to get to the next place so we can help ourselves and then we can help others. So, your testimony is going to help a lot of people. Your grandmother is still here and she's helping people to not
Mhm.
experience what she experienced, and she's working through you. So,
Yes,
thank
I feel
you.
it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening and being obedient. You have to experience, sometimes we have to experience the journey, the lesson, so that we can learn from it and then we can teach others. So, the lesson, you got it. And of course, you're going to feel those things because love is real, you know.
Hmm.
But to know that your work that you're doing it through your grandmother. So, that passion is there. So, thank you. That's
Yeah.
when people can understand. When you experience something, you know, people can feel it, and then it's heard more clearer than when you actually experienced it, when then you just talking about somebody else's experience. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we thank your grandmother. We acknowledge her and her journey and everything that she is teaching us today. So thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Yes. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. You are welcome. I was gonna ask you, well, I did ask you about Um, Whenever you're ready,
Hmm.
um, what was some of the things that you ate in the beginning when when you became raw vegan or plant based? Like, did you start out eating raw foods, or was you eating the processed vegan foods, or how did you begin with that?
Um, so I started eating, I had someone check me on a call too with this, because I would say that I started not eating processed foods because I didn't really like um, tofu. And that was really the only processed vegan food we had at that time. This is back in 2008, before all of these products. Um, but I did eat a lot of bread and a lot of pasta. And so, yes, that's processed food. So, and of course, cereal. I had chips, all that stuff is processed food. But the reason why I felt it important to incorporate more raw foods was because the bread and pasta in particular, I noticed was making me gain weight, and I was blowing up. Like my at that time, my normal weight was like at 120, and I gained 20 pounds and hit 140, which for my height of 5'3", that's the max I should be. And
Mhm.
so I was catching it because I'm like, yo, this is too much. What's going on? And I knew the bread and the pasta was doing it because I could visibly see on my body eating that what it was doing. So what I started with was incorporating greens in my morning smoothie, because I
Mhm.
had to play tricks with myself to get it in. I didn't like vegetables, which is why I wasn't eating it. So I had to figure out a
Mhm.
way to get the vegetables in and not taste it. And so that was the first round was green smoothies. Um, Also, there was Cafe Gratitude nearby, so I was able to, experience raw gourmet cuisine,
Mhm.
and it tasted great. And then I started getting all the books, the Annie Fields book, Sarma's book from Pure Food and Wine.
Mhm.
There's this woman, I forget her name, but she wrote a couple books. One was like easy, simple, easy raw for two or
Yeah.
something like this.
Mhm.
But yeah, those are some old school books back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, I have some of them.
Yeah, yeah. So that's pretty much how it all got started. And because of that weight gain, my solution in my head was I just need to get more vegetables, and for most of the vegetables I was eating, it made sense to do them raw. I would never cook kale and spinach and, leafy greens. It just didn't make sense. And
Mhm.
I wasn't really so much into crucifers like I am now.
Mhm.
Uh, like Brussels sprouts, definitely I wasn't. I probably didn't even know a Brussels sprout back then. There's so many foods I swore I didn't like and I had never had. But just because they were green, I swore I would never like it. Like avocado, I swore I wouldn't like. And I love avocado now, you know.
Mhm.
So really, like, it's funny how they say going raw, um, you is restrictive, or even vegan is restrictive. And it's like my whole food world opened up eating
Mhm.
this way. I eat way more different. Even now, I'm like, I'm still discovering new foods. I had rambutan for the first time in the past 3 months. um Artichokes is like my new favorite thing, like.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's just so much to explore with this lifestyle.
Yes, yes, yes. So when you were eating in the beginning, I know did you have any health issues that you had to work on? And did you feel a difference from eating the cooked foods and eating raw vegan?
Um, so as a youth, I had blood sugar issues, definitely. But nobody knew, nobody said. It's just like I had a reputation. You better feed Sam in 2 to 3 hours, or else she is just not nice. I would get
Mhm.
hangry a lot. And I remember one time, coming home from school, like from college. So I commuted from, so anybody familiar with New York City area. I was commuting from Greenwich Village all the way to the end of Queens, like towards Elmont. So it's like in the evening time, I'm traveling like 2 hours, at night. And I remember after taking the F all the way from Greenwich up to Queens to the last stop, and I'm at the bus stop waiting to take a bus 30 minutes home. Um, I'm just like dying, right? I feel like I'm gonna die. I'm calling it hunger, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what at the time I'm feeling like it's hunger, and I literally am feeling pain. I feel like I'm gonna die. And there's a Dunkin' Donuts behind me, but it's closed, and I'm freaking out. Like, but this was like the thing, that I was going through. But everyone around me thought that was pretty normal, to experience. But now I know those were just blood sugar issues. I was basically on track to getting the exact same thing my grandma had, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
what I would normally do to quell that is is a donut or two or three, especially if I got the twisties with the cinnamon thing on the whatever glaze they had on it,
Mm-hmm.
because that was my thing. Pizza, McDonald's. I was running around campus, um, and I just need to fill my face and fill my stomach because the pain. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it was cheap food. So, uh, so yeah. But um, when I went vegan, my whole mental focus was just on eating this way. And when I started eating raw foods, I just felt really good. It was just an exciting time. Also, I was newly married, and I was in a new space. I had spent my whole life in Queens, New York, and now I'm across the country, experiencing freedom, and not being in school. So there was a lot of things going on. It was just a really happy time for me at that point. And then we decided to open up the business and move to Chicago. But yeah, that whole stretch of time, for the most part, I could say that it was a super happy time. That was the biggest, I guess, change, was just like, wow, look at this, you know.
Yeah.
Um, the I didn't really like feel those hunger pains anymore, but at the same time, I was more in control of my schedule too, and eating cleaner food. So I'm pretty sure that affected things. It's not something that was noticeable to me at the time because it wasn't something I was looking to fix. I was just trying to avoid. You understand? I am motivated by fear, and I've always been lactose intolerant my entire life, which is why I was drinking lactate as a youth. But no one ever connected the dots for me that I shouldn't be eating pizzas and taquitos and all and string cheese. The those peel off
Yeah.
whatever.
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
eating that. No one said not to eat that. You're lactose intolerant. Like, no one said that. I got the lactate milk, but I'm still eating all this stuff. There was a lot of like cognitive dissonance, just unaware. No one said. So yeah, I didn't have any of those digestive upsets, but it's not something that was hugely noticeable because again, I was just so wrapped up in the new.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, did you have any detox? Because when you mentioned the cheese, I can just imagine. For
I
me,
wasn't
I had.
really into cheese like that, but
Oh,
that mozzarella cheese was my favorite because pizza. But
yeah.
I wasn't really into cheese like that. I was basically, once I decided to become vegan and get off chicken, I was vegetarian for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and honestly, I'm not even sure why that long. I can't remember, but I remember it was just 2 weeks, and then and I know some people, like I've worked with folks who are just crazy about cheese, but I have never had this issue with cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Me either.
Yeah,
um.
especially since I used to get colds 4 times a year. Going vegan, I never got colds. I when you talk about the health stuff, like allergies was a regular seasonal allergies.
Mm-hmm.
When I went vegan, didn't experience it. Um, and the cheese in particular is important because when I see cheese, I see mucus, you know, because at this point now my mind is shifted with everything that I've learned. And
Yeah.
so this is why I wasn't attracted to it, because every time I just see all the mucus, that sickness, and I know what that looks like because I was experiencing that 4 times a year in New York, you know,
Mm-hmm.
my pre-vegan days. So yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Wow. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that you've heard or experienced about the way you eat? Like what people are saying or asking you questions about, how you eat and it's not gonna work, protein, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, the protein thing, was okay. It's a big thing when you, first of all, when you go vegan, everybody becomes a nutritionist, right? They're all concerned about everything.
Yes,
But
yes.
I had my own concerns as well.
Hmm.
When in the beginning of my raw journey, especially when I started to shift on getting into more towards 100%, right? Closer to 100%.
Hmm.
Tracked calories now at that point because I wanted to make sure I was eating enough. I was concerned that I would disappear. Okay. Now I'm first generation Jamaican American. Having flesh on us is a good thing. Like we celebrate it every year at Carnival, right? There's this soca song that's out right now where she goes, "How my bumper looking fat, me looking fat," and then she goes, "Fleshy, fleshy," like having all of that carrying around, especially in what they consider the right places, you know, um, is a good thing. So I did not want to, become skin and bones. So
Right.
I counted everything just to make sure I was eating enough. Turns out I have no problem in this area because I have a very good appetite and I like to eat. So it
Mhm.
worked out fine. But and also with the protein thing, even recently there was this woman talking about sarcopenia. Now she is not a vegan, right? But the points that she was making was, I thought they were worth paying attention to, especially she was pointing to something that I was seeing on the streets, which is the older folks bent over, basically horizontal,
Mhm.
and attributing this to sarcopenia. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what that was called, So
Mhm.
wow, okay, this is a protein thing. Am I getting enough? That's when I started to really pay attention, because before I was like, you don't need to worry about protein. Protein's in everything. This is what I had learned from all my vegan books, my raw books, and stuff like this. Don't worry about that's what I had digested, right? And
Mhm.
this woman, and I can't remember her name because I felt like her name wasn't worth remembering. She was just, because she's not vegan and she's promoting eating meat, and I just think that's sick. It's unhealthy, but also from my whole mentality around meat consumption has really evolved over the past 15 years. And so
Mhm.
I just, to really go so hard for that is a little weird for me, weird to me. So yeah, I don't remember her name, but I started to dig into this whole protein thing and pay attention. But thankfully, Dr. Greger set my mind at ease. So he has the
Mhm.
information coming out in his new book, How Not to Age, specifically talking about sarcopenia, which is why I'm so grateful for him and the other plant-based doctors that are actually looking at the research, because it's not everything that folks that you don't agree with are saying aren't worth paying attention to or aren't even accurate. Some stuff
Mhm.
are, and we need to be mindful of, which is why I read a lot of nutrition books from medical doctors. Not all of them are vegan. Dr. William Lee, I'm looking at his book right now. He just came out with Eat to Beat Your Diet or something, where he's talking about fat. He is not a vegan doctor, right?
Mhm.
Yet he was invited to the Plantition Project's conference to speak about that because it's useful information. This stuff is facts, it's how our body works, and we need to know this, right? Um,
Yes.
so yeah, for in terms of me now, like I'm not concerned about sarcopenia. I've never really seen it in my family show up, but I did, I do see it on the streets, and again, I'm working towards quality of life. And I know the clients I work with, they want quality of life as they age as well. And it's really dangerous to get into your senior years and you have very little visibility because you're bent over like this, crossing the
Mhm.
street. We've all seen those people.
Yeah.
But as long as you eat your greens, that's where most of the good quality protein is coming from. And you strength train,
Mhm.
work out and strength train, you should be fine. So thankfully Dr. Greger, he put my mind at ease with that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I had my own misconceptions. And then two, folks in the transition, they tend to not eat enough, so they're having these cravings and things like this. The cravings conversation comes up a lot in my community. For
Mhm.
me, how I deal with cravings is I eat. You have to be full. Once you're full, you don't want to even see food. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm telling you, like, I'm the type of person, like, I follow the seafood diet. If I see food, I want to eat, but not when I'm full. Right?
Right, right.
I'm full. It's
Yes.
like, oh, I just want to, I cannot. So that is really the strategy. You just stay full, and it's okay because this food is going to go right through you, especially doing raw. It's rich in water, rich in fiber. It's just going to, flush you out.
Yes. Yes. So what speaking about eating, like what is a typical day of how you eat now?
hmm So now, it's pretty advanced. I wouldn't necessarily suggest anybody start on this, and that's why I coach. This is why I love coaching. Books
Mhm.
are important, courses are important, but coaching is really about guiding the individual to finding the path that's right for them. Not every way of eating is right for everybody. That's why I
Mhm.
have to preface this by saying just because I eat this way doesn't mean you should, right? Okay,
That's
so
right.
for me, I start my day with smoothies. I do fruits till noon because I want to make sure I get in as much fruits as possible and satisfy my craving for fruit, for sweets and stuff, and also get in my water and stuff. So
Mhm.
I usually do a big 32-ounce smoothie in the morning, and then a nice big salad in the afternoon,
Mhm.
which is usually kale, like a huge bed of kale. I love, love, love kale. Love it.
Mhm.
I could eat it every day. Um, and I top it with artichokes, sun-dried tomatoes, avocado. I make different types of dressings, or
Mhm.
sometimes I just get lazy and just have those and don't dress it with anything because I'm at that level with kale now. Me and kale, we on a no dressing basis right now. Um, and so yeah, that's basically it for the day. And I'm done eating by 1:30, 2 o'clock typically.
Mhm.
Um, because I follow intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting works well for me
Mhm.
because you mentioned health issues before. I have a history of acid reflux. Of course, with all the taquitos and pizza pockets and all that oily stuff. Um, I had acid reflux, but with eating this way, not just eating raw, but also making sure that my food stays down and digests well. I don't like to uh, eat too close to bedtime, because even with some of the raw foods and even with sun-dried tomatoes, for example, because certain foods will trigger it, especially if you have acid reflux. There's certain foods, plant foods, that will just do it. Tomatoes is one of them that just takes longer to digest, longer to settle down where it's supposed to be. So it's not like I can eat a big salad and go lay down.
Right,
Um,
right.
I mean, it's definitely not the same as having like a, let's say, a chana masala or something like that, something heavily, or Ethiopian. I used to love, veggie combo from the Ethiopian restaurant. Love it, right? But my
Mhm.
digestive system can't handle it anymore, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I mourn that loss. Uh, but but yeah, so I practice intermittent fasting because it makes me feel good and has my brain just working really well, and
Mhm.
am able to go to sleep without feeling anything in my system. I sleep better and I just go to bed more joyful. So that's what works for me.
Hmm. Wow, that sounds great. The artichokes, is it the ones that's in the? Is it raw or is it in the brine? I guess the ones that.
In the brine. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
in the brine. Yeah, I usually get mine from Trader Joe's, and it's like it's water, oil, and they put some seasonings in there.
Okay, we got to check it out.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks for sharing that with us. Oh my
yeah.
God, I had some. Um, have you tried uh, slippery ends herb, like for your
Sip-
gut? Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have. We used to have an apothecary at our store and selling herbal products, so I'm familiar with it. I'm pretty sure I've had it at one point or the other,
Hmm. Oh, okay. I
but I
would
can't
just.
remember why I took it.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
good.
know it's for like if you have constipation or diarrhea or something like this.
And also it coats, the inside of the gut, and it helps with digestion and stuff like that as well. So yeah, that's why I threw it out there, just in
Yeah.
case.
Do you take it?
Sometimes, but my little one, she used to have it all the time, and a couple other people I've helped with that. They had digestion issues, stomach pains. It is really good. So yeah, the inner bark, for anybody who else is watching, it has to be the inner bark, because you can just get slippery ends and it's not the inner bark of
Mhm.
it. And I'm gonna throw this out here too. A lot of times people buy powdered things, and you have to look at, because they put fillers. If there's more than what the herb, and they might put rice and other starches and fillers in there, and it could be more than what you're looking for. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yes.
Yeah. I typically like to get my herbs from Mountain Rose because
Uh
they
huh.
have organic herbs. And there's
Hmm.
another good one. I think it's Star West Botanicals, I think is the other one
Oh.
because sometimes Mountain Rose doesn't have certain things.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. So, what makes you excited about the way you eat?
Um, the taste. I still am very much a foodie. I love the way my food tastes. I love making food taste good. I made some Spanish rice the other day with rice cauliflower, and just ricing the cauliflower and seeing how fluffy it looks, has me
Yeah.
excited, because it's so pretty and
Yes.
so perfect, and you just add seasoning to it and it's just a quick meal. Like this
Mm-hmm.
way of eating is fast food, especially if you're busy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to spend a ton of time, you know?
Right.
You
Mm-hmm.
just wash and chop and
Yeah.
season sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's that because I don't really do too much of the dehydrated stuff. I did do a dish the other day with parsnip rice, this almond coconut amino sauce, and I and broccoli. And the broccoli I dehydrated for 4 hours. So my first time I was trying something new. I never dehydrated broccoli before,
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite an interesting experiment to see, at what stage the broccoli stops tasting so like green and
Yeah.
chlorophyll, because
Yeah.
at the 2.5 mark you could still taste the chlorophyll, but at the 4 hour mark it's like in between like a steam and a roast in terms of like the texture and the flavor. It was just so good.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I was like, yeah, it's worth 4 hours, but I'm not sure if that's something it's like one of those things that maybe once a month, once every 2 weeks, because I don't really usually typically have that kind of time to spend waiting for something to dehydrate. You got to do a lot of planning around that. And I don't
Yeah.
typically like to eat that with that much planning. I think there's more to food. Like, you have scrolling, I'm a nutrition coach. I'm an integrative nutrition coach. So what integrative nutrition is that we get food primarily from non-food sources. We get energy from our spiritual practice, harmonious relationships, a fulfilling career, and regular physical activity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, food is important. It's foundational. And at the same time, especially as someone who owned a food business and who has been in the health and wellness industry talking about food for what the last 12, 13 years,
Mm-hmm.
food is not everything.
Right.
It's foundational and so critical, and yet it should not be your whole entire life. And I find that some people end up getting to the point of like really orthorexia where they they get to a great space, but then they go over the line and take it really, really far. Then you start to have diminishing returns. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
um and we the media loves to pull out those cases, to blow it
Yeah.
up and be like, this is why a raw food diet doesn't work. But actually, it's not the raw food diet, it's the person. Because the
That's.
person changed their diet but didn't change their mind. They had some eating disorders or some addictive behaviors, something
Mm-hmm.
got triggered in the brain. Where basically now you're falling into orthorexia. Orthorexia, for those who don't know, are basically folks who are extreme with their health, right? They take it to an extreme. Everything has to be perfect and beyond perfect, because now you're getting into like a dysmorphia. You're beyond perfection. It works against you. Actually, it's no longer perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to find the right balance for you, and then kind of ease up, and find life again, right? So now
Yeah.
you fix the food part, there's life to enjoy now. So that's why for me, you know after 1:30, 2 o'clock, I'm in my fasting window. First of all, I'm focused on my water consumption, right? If hunger comes up, I'm thirsty. Most likely the body has not consumed enough water.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm just starving for something emotionally, right? A lot of times we're eating, it's because we are bored, we are stressed,
Mm-hmm.
we're anxious or whatever. And so that's the time, my fasting time is when I focus on me, caring for me, my doing my workouts, doing my yoga, doing meditation, being active around the house, doing something, taking my mind off of food and onto life, because there's more to this existence than food.
That's right. Yeah, I when I was back in the days, I could be eating lunch and be thinking about what I'm gonna eat next. It's crazy. And I
Yeah,
know eating raw, you don't have time, because you don't even eat as much. I mean, what I mean is you feel more, full and nourished than eating all the water and there's nothing in it because you cooked
yeah,
it to death. So yeah, man, wow, what a way to change the mindset. And I agree, food is not everything, because I used to think that like food is everything. No, I don't do that.
yeah. It's
But when
like
I'm
food is
hungry
life. But actually, no,
now,
life is life. We gotta,
yeah, it
food
is.
is just allows us to be here to experience,
Mhm.
the goodness of life, the people around us. We're all here on this planet at the same time. It's for
Yes.
a reason, right? There's a reason why you and I are talking right now. We don't even know the path, what that's going to manifest into, but we are supposed to share space and time right now. And
Mhm.
this is a really magical thing. And when we stop and just take a pause to pay attention to that, like to the people around us, and spending time with them, and this is what eating clean and practicing a healthy lifestyle allows you to do, because you don't have to focus on being sick, and doctor's visits and all this stuff. You can just focus on loving the people around you and just, enjoying that time, because time is quickly, accelerating.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. Wow. You are amazing. I appreciate you sharing so many great tips and everything. It's amazing. So what inspired you to become a health nutrition coach?
I had a business, and I wanted to offer something more. We had the juice cleanses and the smoothie cleanses and all the herbs and things. And, I wanted to get a little bit more personal with the customers. And
Hmm.
help them, because it's a lot of folks do cleanses and detoxes as a quick fix.
Yeah.
And this is really not a sustainable thing. You're not going to avoid type 2 diabetes or any of the chronic diseases
Mm-hmm.
by doing a once a year or even 4 times a year detox. It helps, right, to give the body a reset, especially if you're not maintaining it properly. And you
Mm-hmm.
know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I think it's better and more comfortable, right? I don't like pain, right? I'm all about comfort and ease. It's
Yes.
more comfortable to just have a quality lifestyle now, which means you get your diet right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get into the groove of eating clean now and having a healthy lifestyle on top of that, right? So it's not just
Yeah.
about the food, but also your thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
activity, the people around you, your environment, the information you're feeding your mind, you
Yes.
know, to get all around healthy for sustainability so that cancer doesn't creep in, all these toxins don't stay and manifest into
Mm-hmm.
something that's going to be really difficult,
Mm-hmm.
to deal with later. I like prevention, right?
Yes.
I like prevention,
Mm-hmm.
especially after what I've witnessed. Prevention is key, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people wait for a crisis moment, and it's not fun to go through a crisis moment. It turns everyone's life upside down, not just yours, but your family as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I decided to start coaching. I really like coaching because it takes, you get face to face with your limiting beliefs and the obstacles that you're putting in front of yourself, because we tend to like to make things difficult for ourselves. We will have a goal, and then we'll make the mountain even bigger than it needs to be when we set that goal. And so having someone to kind of assist you along, keep you focused, because life is just lifing, right? It's like
Yeah.
being in a blender and things are just running, like everything's running so fast.
Yeah.
You look up 2 years later, you had that goal and nothing ever happened. Having a coach helps you get from point A to point B in a
Mm-hmm.
tight time frame, because you stay focused and you have
Mm-hmm.
someone guiding you, so you don't have to have all the, you know you don't have to spend too much time discovering, because you can
Mm-hmm.
get to these understandings and insights a lot quicker.
Yes. Not being distracted from the goal. And that's great. I mean, yeah, that's definitely needed, so thank you. Yes. So what is the legacy that you would like to leave behind about Samantha and being a nutritionist coach?
Well, I think this is interesting. So I'm on a mission to eradicate type 2 diabetes in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been honored and blessed. Like, honestly, the first time when I was writing my book, You Can Afford to Be Healthy, it's a message God placed in my heart when I was writing that book.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I said it out loud to a group of people, I was ashamed and embarrassed, because I was like, what? This sounds so stupid. What you mean you're gonna eradicate type 2 diabetes? Like, I just felt, you know, and but then God revealed himself to me through people and through experiences, where I
Yeah.
see, at the time I didn't understand. I was like, how can I do this? This doesn't make any sense. But I've been surrounded by amazing people who've nurtured me, like my friend Ronell. I'll give him a shout out. He works for the city of LA, and we worked on food policy in LA together. And I remember him saying, the stuff that we are working on right now is not for us, but for future generations. So just
Yeah.
understanding, like, the work we're doing, we may not see it in our lifetime, but that's okay. We're setting the foundation. And I know my ancestors, the mentors, the people that I look up to, Harriet Tubman, for example, is a big one. She was
Yeah.
doing a hard thing,
Mm-hmm.
and who knew what was on the other side? And she kept making trips to save
Yeah.
people, right? She kept putting herself in danger, kept putting herself at risk. And for
Mm-hmm.
what, right? To
Yeah.
see what? Something that she would not experience, and even her grandchildren wouldn't experience. But I am her wildest dream. You know what I'm saying? The life that I'm living now. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do have a vision of course, type 2 diabetes is a preventable irreversible illness. We don't have to have it. And hopefully, I have faith that eventually our government, our country will get to a place where they create a culture of health and, health and care and love for people will win over corporate profits and greed. And, there's different, I see God has called not just me, but many people to this work, including yourself with the work that you're doing. I didn't even know you existed until you reached out to me. And I'm like, wow, look at this. Look at God's work, and
Mhm.
there's many of us out here working. And I see it. I see clear now. I
Mhm.
don't see the end, but I just see clear now how everything is going to unfold with all of us, just kind of flooding
Yeah.
uh, everywhere people are with like, look at this thing, look at what we're
Yeah.
doing. There's healing over here. This is the other option that you're not being told in the medical system because they just don't know. And not
Mhm.
only that, doctors are being influenced by people like yourself. You know what I'm saying? People out here
Yeah.
doing the work, coaching people, they end up working with doctors, taking them
Mhm.
on fasts and different cleanses and allowing them to have a healing experience that then influences their work. um,
Yes.
One of my favorite people is Dr. Baxter Montgomery, and he shares about how John Rose was his introduction into raw foods, and now he's helping people heal who have
Mhm.
been, this is their, he's their last doctor basically, because all the other doctors have basically sentenced these people um, to die, right? There's nothing else
Yes.
they can do. They throw their hands up, right?
Mhm.
Which is the same situation my grandma was in her 80s, being sent home on hospice care. They were saying that it's too late, but actually, they are the reason why she got to that point. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
reason she even had to get insulin shots in her stomach is because the food and the medicine after a while deteriorates the kidneys. The kidney
Mhm.
has to filter all of this stuff.
Right.
And so her organs were steadily, losing their function from all of these
Mhm.
meds that she was taking. Nobody was saying what to eat to reverse, right? Just
Right.
what to eat to make sure the meds work. So it
Yeah.
was just a slow depreciation of her body. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, and so to have this kind of influence where you can influence the medical industry, and then pioneers like Dr. Baxter, Dr. Brooke Goldner can influence their peers. Things
Yeah.
are changing all around.
Yeah. Yes.
There's even a conference, there's my summit coming up, the Thrive Through Food Summit, that I'd love to, talk about, that's coming up
Yeah.
soon. But there's also another conference Dr. Columbus Baptiste is doing early next year that I'll be at, where we're talking specifically about how do we close the racial health gaps, because this is a huge thing. And this is what drives me right now. This is why I
Mhm.
get hot and heated, what gets me working, because like I can't do anything else. There's nothing else more important than this. When you look at the disparities, when you look at the numbers, when you see what's happening in our communities, where I
Yes.
was born and raised, we have a dialysis center. It's every community that looks with people that look like myself. We have
Yeah.
dialysis centers, but we don't have farmers markets. We
Right.
don't have Whole Foods. We have to be traveling so far
Yeah.
to get quality
Yeah.
food. You know what I'm saying? This is
Mhm.
injustice to me. And
Yeah.
so, like, there are many, important things going on, but for me, this is like the most important thing right now. Like, we need to fix this. Um,
Yes.
so it's hard to answer like the legacy piece, but I know a lot of us, God is doing a work, and I'm just a cog in that wheel, and I'm happy to be a cog in that wheel.
Yes. Yes, that's beautiful. And thank you for the work that you are doing. And could you talk more about your summit that you're going to be doing soon?
Yes, I've been working on this for the past few months, the Thrive Through Food Summit. And you can register now. It's open, thrivethroughfoodsummit.com. We have Dr. Baxter on it. We have Dr. Toomey Johnson, Dr. Gabriel Cousins, Dr. Fred Bishi, um, a lot of folks on there basically talking about nutrition's role in mental health. We have Perry on there. I know he was on your show a while back. Um, and yeah, raw foods came up a lot, which I wasn't
Mhm.
even expecting. I knew plants, but I wasn't expecting so much raw, so much heavy emphasis on raw, and not just raw, but a specific way of eating raw. So I think
Mhm.
that is going to be really valuable because I don't think too many people understand that when you are out in the streets dealing with folks who are irritable, angry,
Mhm.
um, having road rage, and literally getting out their car to confront folks,
Yeah.
this thing, it's not just, oh, they have a mental imbalance. Why do they have a mental imbalance? the
Yes.
the brain is not right, and a lot
Mhm.
of it has to do with the foods that we're eating and
Yeah.
toxins coming in. Every time we eat food, we're bringing outside inside, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so food plays a huge role in how our brain works. Our
Mhm.
brain is managing everything we do, how we show up in our homes, how we show up in community, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, how we show up
Yeah.
at work.
Yes.
And so this is really critical. And I know, in terms of, I'm here in Orlando, Florida, and one of this nonprofit leader that I know who's doing addiction recovery work, he brought it to my attention that he's trying to bring in nutrition programming and got pushback from community members. They couldn't see why it was important to bring in nutrition programming in addiction recovery. And so we
Mhm.
talk about on the summit addiction, we talk about stress, anxiety, depression, but we also talk about autism, ADD, bipolar,
Mhm.
and cardiovascular health.
Mhm.
Because cardiovascular health is basically how the brain is getting nutrients, it's blood
Mhm.
flow, it's oxygen, right? Energy, workplace productivity. We're talking about a lot of this. It's really foundational. It's not just about cardiovascular health, which of course is important, but they're
Mhm.
calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes
Yeah.
because the source is the same. And I know
Yes.
in my family, I've witnessed folks with dementia who were like almost close to pastors. They were so involved in the church, and then
Mhm.
completely turn into a different person because of dementia. You
Yeah.
don't have control over your mind at that point, you
Mhm.
know? And so there are things that we can do to halt the progress of the decline of the brain. And
Mhm.
it starts with the food. And not
Yes.
enough of us are talking about it. So this summit is basically the answer to that. Hopefully folks will dive in and share, tell your friends and family to watch, and just make it a family night. Watch it together.
So would this be online, or do you guys a certain spot?
Yeah, this is online at the thrivethroughfoodsummit.com. So you just register. You get to watch from the comfort of your home. And we do have bonus live Q&As for folks who decide to purchase the all access pass. So they'll have live sessions that folks can ask questions directly with Dr. Toomey Johnson, Dr. Gabriel Cousins, Karen Ramsey, Thomas Tadlock. Thomas Tadlock is Dr. Brooke Goldner's husband,
Yes.
and the author of Miracle Metabolism. What
Yeah.
some folks may not know is that Dr. Brooke Goldner's whole protocol was inspired by his work because
Mhm.
she wanted to lose weight and she was vegan. And so she did his program, but had to tweak it for her, lifestyle being vegan. And that's how she came up with what she uses to help folks reverse kidney failure, and reverse lupus. I had her
Yeah.
on my podcast talking about this, which I lost, um, which I guess you would call like a, I don't know, like a third cousin. I'm not sure, a family member from lupus.
Mhm.
Um, Nobody talked about, oh, this could have been avoided, food could have healed, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure at the dialysis centers they are not handing out her book, which I find to be, again, injustice. I literally want to be like the animal activist and just go to all these Davita centers and just be there with all these books and give them out, but I need a sponsor for that, to do
Yeah.
that. But like, just like, hey, did you know, give people an option, you know what I'm saying, that
Right.
they don't have to live like this, because
Right.
being on dialysis so long, eventually the kidneys tank out,
Mhm.
and you keep losing function of your kidneys, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think this is just so important. The more we know, the more choices and options we have available to us in a timely manner before
Yeah.
things get to a point where, you're really, really, really out of options. But I do want to emphasize that it's not too late. You know what I'm saying? It's never too late, because the thing is too, with food, there are no side effects.
Right.
There's
Not right
nothing
away.
to lose. It's like you try it, and either it doesn't work because you're too far gone, or it does work and now you've just extended your life by decades.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
like, there's just nothing to lose. But the first step is awareness, so just trying to
Yes.
get the message out there.
Yes. So when is the summit?
We launch October 30th, so you definitely want to sign up now. Sign up as soon as possible. It's a 3-day summit, and each day you get 48 hours to view, so it's completely free.
Okay. Could you send me the link on Instagram and I'll put it on this video? I don't know
Yes.
if it's in your, you have a link tree, correct?
Yeah, it said, and you could go to thrivethroughfoodsummit.com. I have it right there on the screen. And
Okay.
I can also drop it in the comments
Okay.
here.
Wow, this is amazing. So we're gonna be going to the summit.
Yes, hope to see you
My,
there.
mm,
I think I have
got
to
it.
press a few buttons in order to post, but I'll post it.
Okay.
It's coming up slowly but surely.
I'll put it on the screen as well.
Or let me just put it in the chat here.
It's freezing in here.
So yeah, that's the link. And then
Okay.
I'll just have to circle back after, because I think StreamYard is trying to connect, but it won't connect. So
Okay.
I'm not able to post it in the comments, but I could do it after.
Okay. Thank you so much. I want to thank you for coming and spending your time with us. We appreciate you and your beautiful story, healing all around. I mean, you're doing the work. I hope I can get you back on here because you have amazing spirit and just you have a lot of knowledge. So we
Thank
want
you.
to yeah, because a lot of people need the information. And thank you. You guys heard she have a YouTube channel, Instagram. I have the link down in the description, so please go ahead and click on it. I know I'm looking all over these cameras everywhere. But anyway, you have anything else you would like to say before we
No, I'm looking forward to seeing you all at the summit, and hearing your thoughts. These should be definitely household kitchen table conversations with the family, just learning and growing together.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. Thank you again, and thank you. A
Thank
thousand
you for
roses
everything
to
you're
you.
doing.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. This is what I tell my people. A thousand roses, everybody. We all family. Thousand roses to you guys. Love yourself first. Why? Because you're worth it. Peace.
Peace.
Okay.